content of this podcast is intended for those of age. It may not be suitable for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
How we dreamed about a better life, holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in a memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you.
Okay, looks like we're live. Hello everyone. I am Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Bounceable Bust and Banter, CEO of Mira Group, and welcome one and all to Good Morning Agni. I'm joined by my co-host Erik Mondrian, a machinima artist. Thank you, machinima artist, and alumni of California Institute of Arts, wasn't it? Or I know they just abbreviated to Cal Arts.
California Institute of the Arts.
And a friend of mine, Kirisame, who is a newcomer Second Life resident. Today we'll be discussing the Metaverse, as part of our first episode, Metaverse Dilemma. We'll be discussing the situation regarding Meta, the name change for Facebook, and the possible impacts it could possibly have on Second Life and the greater Metaverse. After that, we'll be discussing the recent departure of April Linden briefly, who, for those not in the loop, was the head of engineering at Linden Lab up until her departure a couple weeks ago. If not last week. I can't remember exactly when. I think it was last week, wasn't it?
November 5th.
November 5th. Yeah, so it would be about actually 2 weeks ago. It would be 2 weeks coming up tomorrow. After that, we'll be discussing the Gacha ban 1 month in, and the effects that it's had on the Second Life economy, and what we could possibly see going on down the road. Finally, we'll be discussing with Rui about his first time being in Second Life and how he's acclimated to being in SL, how he as a newcomer has any thoughts or opinions on how things have been in SL for him so far. To kick things off, though, I think we'll start with introductions. I'll go first. As I said before, I'm Nodoka Hanamura. I am a somewhat active YouTuber in the Second Life community. I used to work for the Virtual Existence Society alongside Luca Grabach. I have the Chief Executive Officer of Mira Group, a multi-platform gaming organization that exists both in Second Life and elsewhere. And I am in real life a 25-year-old trans woman from the United States. My interests personally are in military aviation, military subjects in general, and virtual worlds, computers, things like that. I started this podcast namely to try and add a perspective of Second Life content around Second Life and the greater Metaverse, because it feels to me that the two are kind of intertwined, and as part of being part of a greater thing, because Second Life is not an island. We are joined by other platforms as well. Wouldn't you two guys agree in some circumstance?
Yeah.
Yes, because, think about it. For me, personally, before I came to Second Life, I used to be an Active Worlds resident. Recently I was recently started being active in VR chat.
What was that one? What was that one like social sim? IMVO.
IMVU, yes, the
Yeah,
sitting simulator.
IMVU. Yeah. So Yeah, no, I dabbled that before I even heard of Second Life and VR chat. So of course, people that are from there would also direct themselves to, Second Life and other stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, IMVU is a fucking shit show.
It is, but now that you've taken the reins quite seamlessly, Ruri, mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I am Rui Kirisame, professional alcoholic and shit poster. I have nothing to my name, not even a job, so that's the last you'll heard from my introduction.
Ruri here hails from Portugal. He is a aspiring digital artist, I believe would be a good way to put it.
It's like that's putting it too nicely. Like I'm just a bum. I'm just a fucking bum with a draw pad.
All right. Now, finally, we have Eric to my right. Eric, mind you introduce yourself? I think some people probably have heard of you before.
Yeah, it is interesting. I sometimes get, I sometimes meet people and they're like, oh, I've heard of you, or I'm like on some Discord server and so it's like, my favorite YouTuber. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's a very, very, very low level of notoriety and fame, like very, very low. So I'm always surprised when like someone knows my name. Um, yeah, I'm Erik Mondrian. I have been in Second Life for too many years. I've been here since March of 2005, actually. So that's what, almost, I'll be 17 years old in March of next year, which is a little crazy. Um, as Nodoka said, I am also a video artist. I graduated from the California Institute of the Arts in Los Angeles back in 2019. My degree was actually not in anything related specifically to film or video, but I was in the music school, did vocal performance, and also in one of the other schools I had a dual MFA, so I did creative writing as well as vocal performance, and then some concentration, tech-related concentration called integrated media. CalArts, it's a mouthful, I know, like CalArts is always one of those places where you kind of have to explain things, which I won't, I'll just leave it at that. But I will say that for my MFA thesis, I actually did a 30-minute, in total, a 30-minute art film. Was composed of 10, more like 11 separate films. The artist statement, which was the 11th one, kind of became this lyrical art film on its own. And all of that I filmed in Second Life. I had actually started doing some machinimas, some fly-throughs of different spaces in SL back in late 2017, I think in November 2017, after getting a Space Navigator 3D mouse, which works phenomenally well with Second Life. And so I'd started doing fly-throughs, and then eventually when I started working on my final thesis project at CalArts in fall of 2018, and then finished in early 2019, it became kind of an interesting thing to actually combine my love of Second Life and virtual worlds and the people here with filming in Second Life, which I'd already done, and then also the creative writing and the voice art. So I actually recorded myself speaking creative, like writing pieces, like poetry and some other things that I'd written, and then basically combined that with footage of different spaces that other people have made in Second Life. So yeah, but I've been, just to add one thing, because I know Nodoka mentioned Active Worlds. I loved Active Worlds. It's been a while since I was last there, but I have been to multiple virtual worlds before and since. I actually started back in, now I'm going to date myself, but I started with IRC channels and MUDs back in the mid-1990s and was involved
That's
in a
old.
yeah, see, I'm dating
Yeah.
myself. But I started off with that and also a platform called The Palace, which was a 2D graphical chat platform that was very, very dear and close to my
I
heart. Sorry.
think I've heard of that before, actually.
It is still like it's been years since I was last in there. It's kind of still around. The company went bankrupt back in early 2000s, I think. But because of the way the platform is structured, client server model, not like Second Life, it's a little more decentralized than the Palace actually, or many of the Palaces survived. But anyway, I was part of that Active World, some other like Worlds Away, Second Life, obviously, and as Rui and Nodoka also mentioned VR chat. I've been to VR chat, not as much as SL, but I do love exploring all kinds of virtual worlds. And I think there's a lot to be said about virtuality and virtual existence in a lot of ways.
Okay, great. Now that we have introductions out of the way, let's get to the first subject of the day, and that would be the topic regarding Facebook now being known as Meta. Um, I've heard a lot of discussion about this, both in Second Life and in the greater virtual world community. And it seems to be overwhelmingly that of concern and fear regarding the risk that Facebook poses to our how to put it, the
Existence.
risk that they've posed to numerous things, such as the future of the virtual worlds that we call home, regardless of whether or not you are from Second Life, VR Chat, Active Worlds, IMVU, or any of the other virtual world platforms.
Win.
It's not concern. It's not wrong to be concerned in the slightest about this, um, because of the power that Meta holds, both financially and as a I would even say socio-political powerhouse, due to the fact that
A social
Facebook's
media machine.
reach in social media
Yeah.
is so immense that
Even
due to
boomers
that
are
they
talking
can,
about it.
yes, it speaks volumes when even people who, well, albeit Second Life's population can be believed to be sizably those of the baby boomer generation. I wouldn't say overwhelmingly, but I'd say probably like I would go out on a limb and say probably 15 to 25% of the population would be within the age range of baby boomers, if not Gen Xers.
What's Gen X
On
again? I forgot.
Gen X, I believe, is I think they were born like in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe. I'm not
Okay.
entirely
Yeah, late
100%.
70s, early 80s, exactly.
Okay. Thanks.
Um, Me personally, on the subject of meta, I have, even when I came out about it, and I remember when I was walking home from work, because I have a workplace up the street from where I live. I remember one night, as I was walking home from work, I was talking with Rui about the whole meta situation. And the
Yeah.
thing is that I don't see Facebook, now Meta, getting far with this whole "we will be the metaverse" thing, because if I may be completely blunt about a lot of people, and I think that Will Burns, who is a very prominent metaverse figure and a proponent of the concept of the metaverse,
Prominent
he
as
was,
in how?
I believe he was part of the IEEE working group, or some kind of working group related to the
Yeah, he
IEEE,
was.
regarding regarding like metaverse technology and sort. It seems that no one on this godforsaken earth knows what exactly the metaverse is. They can't make up their mind. Like, I remember, I think Erik posted in our shared group chat a post from PC Gamer, uh, which I've posted in the chat for anyone watching or anyone rewatching this. Um, let's see. Where is
Oh
it? There we
no,
go.
we have.
Ultimately, according to the article, ultimately the metaverse is a hard concept to define. Hell, the term metaverse has been kicking around since the 90s. It used to describe everything from early multi-user dungeons to Roblox and Fortnite, with Microsoft even claiming Halo and Minecraft as metaverses. Many companies like Dropbox, the cloud storage company that promises bump to enter the metaverse, are simply throwing out the term to please investors. It seems as if no one seems to understand what exactly the fucking metaverse is. Can we talk about that briefly, just before we get back on the topic of the subject of
Yeah.
meta as a whole?
Can I just say this? Because now that I've heard that, I have to say we already like we Metaverse hasn't even launched, I think, and we already reached the worst scenario where is Metaverse is Death Stranding because nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Not even the guy who's creating it. I don't know.
It does raise a genuine concern
It's
because
like
because people think that the metaverse is that people can have individual metaverses. It's like saying that there are that you can have multiple internets. That's
yeah. It's
because
like
at least in the concept that we have now, because there's just the internet, there's just
yeah.
the metaverse. Because I believe a while back, Will Burns again posted some kind of picture or image that kind of went into kind of an OSI layer style. For those not to know, OSI layer is kind of like a layer of different applications for computers. Like you have hardware, firmware, operating system, drivers, software, and it goes up that layer more or less. But except for
compiler of
metaverse,
yeah.
for technology, like you have the internet, you have virtual worlds, you have the greater metaverse, which encompasses all the layers below it. That I believe is what not just what the officially recognized by the IEEE um definition for the metaverse is, but also I believe is what Neil Stephenson in Snow Crash, which fun fact I haven't read, but I've heard it's a really good book. I really should
It
sit
is.
down and
It
actually
is.
read it sometime. Had prescribed in Snow Crash as what the metaverse was supposed to be like. But
I
everyone and their
actually
mother
thought
is saying like we're gonna create our own metaverse, we're gonna do this and that. Like you have no
yeah.
idea what the fuck you're doing. You're just throwing the word around to artificially inflate your stock value.
Or the ego. Never forget about the ego.
Oh yes.
They're very much tied together. I
But
think stock
I
value
thought
and ego.
Metaverse was supposed to be like either a Second Life 2.0 or a PlayStation Home kind of deal. I
Well,
never heard of like people saying like, "Oh, we're gonna have our own metaverse," because that sounds stupid.
Will would agree with you. I think it's one of those things where the Will has argued, and some people have argued in his circle that using the word metaverse in the plural, like metaverses, makes no sense. Personally, I'm not a huge fan, I will say, of the word. And Will, please don't hate me, but I don't actually think that the term metaverse, I do know what he and others would like it to be, and I do think that in some ways they're right in the definition they proposed, going back to kind of where it sort of originated. But I think that, I mean, if you look at SL, for example, we even within Second Life, there's this comic book graphic novel company called Zenescope that has, as of this year, had this partnership with Linden Lab. They have a region, possibly two at this point. I think it's just one, called the Zenescope Metaverse. Um, and that's not a metaverse, that's a single region within a much larger virtual world. But I think, like what Nodoka, you were saying with the Dropbox thing from the PC Gamer article, it's like so many, like I don't think, again, all respect to Will and others who are fighting for the definition that he has of the metaverse, I do think that the word has become so overused and misused and dropped, like you said, in different contexts, out of context, for various purposes like stock value, investors, all this thing. I don't think it's a word that actually serves us very well, because I don't think, like, there's too much work that needs to be done anytime you bring up that word to unpack it and figure out what on earth are people actually, what do they mean? Like, it's a term I feel like has lost all its meaning and all its use for these kinds of conversations. Personally, I prefer the term virtual world.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
I've
does it does serve a purpose in terms of marketing because Facebook now is being called Meta, therefore Meta, the universe of the
Oh,
Meta.
absolutely. Yeah, the
Yeah,
marketing aspect of it.
it's dumb, but for because people like to be fed, something like straight up. What is this? Is the universe of the social media Meta. So metaverse. Boom. Trendy word. But yeah, it's being misused and
It's trendy, and it's
yeah,
it's
it's kind of like it's like NFTs in a way. It's that everyone and their mother is jumping on the hype train without actually understanding what the fuck it actually entails.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
But I have to agree that the metaverse concept has been tainted and is a lot to unpack. Partly because of corporations and those with ulterior motives wanting to use it to try and get their foot in the door and try to improve themselves for the greater value, which actually brings me let's bring back to meta and how people have been concerned, because if there's one thing we all can agree is that Facebook is not a good platform.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. It's a good way. It's a good way to back up gotcha games and like those shitty little mobile games. But for social media,
I mean,
I
it's.
don't.
I mean, at that
Yeah,
point, you
it's
might as well do
bad.
two-factor authentication, or not two-factor authentication. You have an OAuth method or some kind of.
Yeah, but
Actually,
going
not
to the
OAuth.
website of the
OSS or single
yeah.
or SSO, single
Yeah,
sign-on.
but going to the website of the company, creating an account, and then remember that password, it's too taxing. I'm dumb. I'll
Yeah, I
just
mean
be
that's
like,
just an
log in
overglor.
with
I mean,
Twitter.
Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, Facebook is just an overglorified SSO because you've
Exactly.
or single sign-on, which essentially, for the tech literate, an SSO is essentially just a single sign-on where you go like, for example, what would be a good example of a service that uses single sign-on?
Well, I can just give an example. I'm personally have used like, CalArts, for example. CalArts has Gmail as a thing,
Yeah, yeah,
but it
yeah,
also
yeah.
You can
has some
sign in with
internal
your
student
Gmail
sites
account. You can sign in with your
with
Sign
Outlook
in
CalArts
with your
ID.
Google
account.
Yeah.
Plus.
You can sign in with Facebook. Essentially, um, Facebook is not a very welcoming platform for many reasons. One of the prime reasons is that there's a lot of censorship. There's a surprising amount of concerns about privacy. There's been, where do we even start?
The
That's
real
that you
name
only have
identity,
like
the real name identity, like the real
real
identity
identity.
policy.
Exactly,
Mm.
because Facebook insinuates, and I remember I think someone at Facebook, I don't know who said that that having a dual identity is an exercise in lying to yourself and to others.
Oh, it's one of
I,
those fucking boomers. God
I,
damn it.
I, I mean, the thing is that I genuinely hate that mindset, and I hate
Yeah,
anyone
it's
who
it's a
actually
pretty
holds
stupid
that
mindset.
mindset, because the opinion I have had for the longest time is that your online life and your real life should stay separated as much as reasonably possible. That's not to
Yes.
say that you should take on a different whole identity and lie about who you are in real life. That is far from the truth. I have always strived to be honest within a certain degree about who I am and what I do in real life, while making sure to not screw myself or people I care about over.
So lie about your name, not your personality.
Exactly. Trust me. If I was a busty Japanese woman, you think I'd be here doing this? I'd be on OnlyFans. I'll be brutally fucking
Wow.
honest.
On remember, kids, this is the most honest podcast you can ever hope to
I
listen.
see why you
Tell
have
your friends.
listeners
Tell your
advised.
boomers.
Listeners be advised. This is
Yeah,
not for all audiences.
yeah. That's why I put that there.
But the thing with
Um,
Facebook and like the whole identity thing and why it makes it kind of sad is because I'm from Portugal, and Portugal has a surplus of boomers. My grandmother uses Facebook, and she didn't know it had the name change until I pointed it out. And that's the thing. Is like if you are an internet savvy user, you will understandably. Oh no, someone said that though. You will understandably go Facebook's a bad platform because privacy breaches, this, and that. But if you're a boomer, you just don't care.
Speaking of which, I just have a quick correction because I looked up on Wikipedia.
Oh,
The Gen X earlier, like I said, it's late 70s, 80s.
yeah.
It actually the birth year started early to mid 60s, and then ends at 70 to 80s. So they
Oh.
apparently say Gen X
Okay.
is like generally from the 1965 to 1980 when you were born. And I believe before that is boomers. So sorry, I got that
Yeah,
wrong
baby
earlier.
boomers,
Yeah.
and Gen Xers, then Gen Y, then millennials, then Gen Z.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. It's a shit show.
It is. But
As long
getting
as I'm
back
not a
on,
zoomer, I'm fine.
getting back on
Yeah.
topic
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
subject.
Of course.
Um, it does feel to me that there is a sense of that there's an aura of concern from people about the about meta and its place in the greater metaverse, or whatever you would want to call it, in the purest sense, because of the aforementioned privacy, identity, freedom of expression. Because one thing that I always have been fond of Second Life for is the unabashed freedom of expression.
Very
Mm.
much so.
Um,
Yeah.
because I'll be brutally honest, I have engaged in quite the depraved things in SL. And
We
I'm
all
thankful
did
every
in
single
all
day
dimensions.
that I can get away with such things without Linden Lab throwing the ban hammer on me because I dare, take off my shirt. Um.
You did what? Oh no.
Scandalous,
uh, um.
heretical, even.
That's the least of your concerns. Um. Uh.
Ooh.
But anywho. Facebook has very stringent policies about sexual content, about real name identity, about a lot of things, and I just do not subscribe to that mindset. And I'm pretty certain that there are quite a lot of Second Life users, quite a lot of VR chat users, quite a lot of people
Internet.
in the metaverse as a
Yeah.
whole, regardless of
Yeah,
platform,
that are very
who
much against
hold
them.
that
It seems.
mentality of that I do regarding keeping the real world and virtual world and the online world separate, not because you don't want to be truthful about yourself, but because you have to ensure, because there are people out there who will do very dangerous, very frightening things. I remember when I was younger, I was harassed by someone online, and who threatened to have my to kill me when I was a minor, mind you.
Oh
Claiming
God.
I don't know, it was like ages ago, and I suppressed the fucking thing to hell and back. But there is a very good reason why you do not provide personally identifiable information online to play in a public fashion.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and then you have
that
artists who
is
are like,
one of
please.
the most obvious ones. There are others too, of course, but that's the primary reason. And Facebook/Meta, breaking down that barrier just opens the floodgates to harassment in both the virtual and real world. And there's also been concerns from people who say that as Meta tries to drive itself into the metaverse, and tries to shift towards being this all-encompassing tech Goliath, we have the concern of, like, there's one concern that I've always had, and as someone who is very anti CCP, anti-Chinese, like I really do not like mainland China. I'll be upfront about that.
Yeah, the government.
But
And anyway.
one of the things I do not like about them is the fact that they have a social credit score there, and the fact that a corporation could implement something like that in America or in Europe or in any free world nation
I think they already
is
applied that in Australia.
very chilling and frightening.
I
You
think
were
they're
saying,
already
Ryan?
doing it in. Yeah, I sorry to cut you off, like I've been doing for the entire this podcast, but
Mm,
I think they're already doing it in Australia. I've been hearing some rumors about it.
And I'm honestly not surprised because Australia is slowly turning into this
They're
complete
going back to their
godforsaken nanny
roots.
state.
They're
It's
going back to their roots because remember, everyone, if history class taught you anything, was that Australia started as a prison. So they're going back.
Ah,
uh,
As
I have a lot of friends
humanity
I
is
have to defend. I
evolving.
have to step in here and say I have a lot of good Australian friends from Second
Oh no,
Life.
no, Australians are great.
we're not knocking the
No, I know,
Australian
I
Yeah.
know.
people. We're talking about the
I just
government.
if they
It's just
listen,
when
I'm
I talk
defending you
about
guys.
China, I'm knocking the government, not the
Yeah.
people, because
I'm,
Like like
because
I'm
both
mainly
parties
defending
in that
Chris Hemsworth
situation,
here.
both the people in China and people in Australia have it bad because they have to live under those governments. I'm just thankful I don't.
yeah, same.
But off the topic of politics,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or well, it's gonna be a bit political, but it does go into
We'll
meta.
keep it to a minimum, people.
Um, essentially, what it boils down to for people is that there is minimum trust in Facebook. There is probably the lowest it's ever been. There is also the mindset because Facebook has been deflecting, saying, "Oh, this name change wasn't to get away from our negative PR." And the thing is that Facebook is up shit creek without a paddle. They
Ever
have
since the
gotten a
database,
lot of
right?
attention from their lackluster attention to hate crimes in Rohingya or against Rohingya and
Yeah, in
other Muslim
Myanmar. Yeah,
minorities in Myanmar, to possibly not doing enough to curb things such as conspiracy theories, or to it feels like it's the platform suffers from the same problem that Twitter does, in that the moderation and management of the platform does not care in the slightest about maintaining the peace, and instead just wishes to sow discourse for whatever best suits their interests, instead of being a equal lawful authority on what gets to be posted on their platform and what doesn't. Um, because for Twitter example, I've said numerous times I fucking hate Twitter. I hate the platform. I'm only on there because of two
Foreign.
reasons.
Because of foreign, right?
Yes, that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
The other reason is to keep in touch with my Second Life contacts outside
yeah.
of
'Cause
SL.
there's a very
People
strong
like
Second Life community on this
people
on Twitter.
like Wagner James Al, Ryan Schultz. Even though I haven't talked to Ryan in ages, I hope he's doing well. Because I've heard about the whole University of Manitoba strike that's been going on. He's been posting about that nonstop. Which I don't blame him. I mean, hey, he works there. He's got an obligation to be paid fairly, but that's not a topic for this podcast. But anywho, that's about all I use it for, because beforehand I had another account at the same handle that was, I just did not get any. The only thing I saw on a daily basis was vitriol, hatred, political propaganda, all sorts of crap. It just made me so angry, so frustrated. Do we really want the metaverse at large to be full of that?
Ideally,
I'm fairly
no.
certain we don't, because
Yeah.
Ideally, no.
I don't log on to Second Life to be annoyed and angry. I come here to have fun. I come here to explore. I come here to express myself.
You don't go for the internet to join a debate club. That's what school's
Exactly.
for.
I mean, some people do, but there's like that's the thing. The
Yeah, but you
entirety of social
choose.
media has become that.
Yeah, exactly. Another concern that Erik himself raised on the before we actually went live was actually something that gave me a small epiphany. Erik, would you like to relay to our viewers at home, our potential viewers, what you said? Because
Oh God,
holy
now if I can
fuck.
remember what I said. Well, I think the the issue is not only in, if I can remember what I said, sort of, and paraphrase it, was that it's not just about what we're seeing, in potentially algorithmically driven, real name enforced Meta slash Facebook owned or curated spaces in their version of the metaverse. But the thing is also that, of course, that's a whole other issue, and the
Yeah, yeah,
moderation and
yeah.
all things. But the other issue, and I think other people have talked about this as well. It's not something I came up with, but um, is the fact that through these headsets, through these tracking, information. I mean, Facebook slash Meta would get so many more sources of data about us because they can actually track our movements, our eye movements, our body movements. They, depending on what technology is
Capable of.
included. Yeah, what the technology is capable of. I
Mm.
mean, there's lots of different ways that even today, trackers and headsets can monitor, your kind of vital signs in different ways. I mean, even just like the research on, using eye movements or where you're looking in terms of attention and in terms of I mean, there's just lots of ways that I think that we don't really know. We're not always thinking about that, but there are lots of different ways that if the technology were properly implemented, they could get even more information about us that we're kind of almost subconsciously or unconsciously giving away because of the fact that, you put on or an Oculus or whatever they're going to call it, a Meta. I think they're changing the name, but
Yeah, they
yeah,
are. I believe
there's
they
lots
have
of
said
different
they're going to
ways they
change it.
can gather more data because of the fact that no longer is it a phone. Now it's like on your face or on your body, and if it gets to the point where okay, you have a contact lens. Okay, what else is that contact lens
Like
gathering about? Like I don't
if
know,
and
different data from your eyeball.
yeah, and I was like, yo, I was just having a funny meme joke of, wow, look at Meta, ain't it stupid? And then when you brought that out, I was like, no, that's actually horrible. Get it away from me. I don't want it.
Get away.
No, get away from the lizard man and he's affordable Oculus Rift.
Well, that's
It
the
w-
problem, though. I mean, the
Yeah.
affordability of it. I think when Nodoka, you were mentioning in Myanmar, like the that was the Associated Press article that we found about hate speech in Myanmar continues and on Facebook. And I mean, I think if you look at that article again, it was in the Associated Press today. It said that when Myanmar connected to the internet in 2000, not too long after that, Facebook basically came in, made a deal with the telecom carriers there, and so that people there could use Facebook without paying data charges, which were still and probably still are fairly expensive. And so this is a history, this is a pattern that historically the company has done in certain parts of the world where they are basically coming in and giving away or subsidizing internet communication, which yes, in some ways it's great, but then, like the article said, for a lot of people in those countries, like in Myanmar, the internet is Facebook, and there's I think the article said the estimate is that there's about a little over 28 million Facebook users in the country. This is a country of 54 million people. More than half are using Facebook, and that's the problem. Like with Oculus, a lot of I think I read something, and I can't quote it exactly, but I did read somewhere recently that like an actual official statement from Facebook that they're selling the Oculus or have been selling the Oculus Quest, for example, at a loss or break even, and that is,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it's not
it
out of the
does
goodness of their
seem
hearts.
like it feels to me that they're following the mindset of several other companies that have done similar things with emerging technologies in the past to try and get them into the market. Um, I'm gonna continue. We need to wrap up this discussion, but we're gonna wrap up with what I feel. Um, I think we'll just have a round. Each one of us will have a go, one last go. But my personal take on the whole meta situation is that it probably won't get very far. I mean, let's look at the facts here, folks. First of all, we have the fact that Facebook's reputation is in the shitter and has been for a while, and the fact that they changed their name to Meta doesn't help things any at all. For two, they are facing legal problems left, right, and center from ranging from the Federal Trade Commission dealing with monopoly, issuing monopoly lawsuits against them, if I recall correctly, to issues they've been having in the European Union, to being called out regarding their difficulty or their failure to tend to issues in Myanmar regarding their service. It just feels to me that there's so much bearing down on Facebook now more than ever, both not just in the legal sphere of influence, but in the not socio-political, but the social atmosphere, area around Facebook / Meta is too. It's too negative towards it to see any kind of wide scale adoption of what they want the metaverse to be, because the way I see it, this happening is that come 2025 or sooner, Facebook is probably going to get broken up, and it's going to destroy pretty much everything that they're aiming towards right now. And while yes, Facebook has made attempts at saying, "Oh, well, we're trying to fix things in Myanmar. Oh, we've gotten rid of our facial recognition for photos and whatnot." I'm like, what's not to say that you won't bring that back at a later date? And for Myanmar, it's the case of too little, too late. I mean, you're telling me that we should trust Facebook when we have all of these reasons under the sun not to. Why? Like, I will admit, I own an Oculus Rift, but I don't trust Facebook. I don't own anything on Oculus, on the Oculus Store or anything like that. I buy all my stuff for Steam. The only reason I bought an Oculus is because it was the cheapest, best headset that I could get my hands on at the time I bought it. Nowadays, if I had to buy another headset, I probably would save up for an old-fashioned HTC Vive.
Was Oculus always a Facebook property?
No, they bought it.
No.
They bought it.
Okay,
I believe shortly before I think it was the release of the DK2, the second development kit, that Facebook bought them out.
Oh, okay.
But Eric, what's your take on all this?
Sorry. I hope that they don't become successful. I think that it's kind of a coin toss at this point. I mean, God knows they have the muscle in terms of their money and their influence. I think for my kind of final thoughts on Meta, I just wanted to say a couple quick quotes from the articles we were talking about, or some of them that we were talking about, because I thought it was quite interesting, and it kind of presents two sides of this. Like one of them, just yesterday on Yahoo News, it said Facebook's Meta name change isn't going over well with the public. There's an article by someone named Stephanie Rogers, and I think that this is actually a quote from someone who Stephanie says his name, Louis Rosenberg, an early pioneer of augmented reality technology, warning that whether the metaverse in the hands of Facebook or another company, it could be a lot more dangerous than social media as we currently know it, which is sobering. And I think one of the things that I liked most, or not liked, I've been on social media too long. It's not something I liked. It's something I found interesting and dismaying and sobering, because as Rosenberg said, it's something that we feel now, well, okay, we can just not use Facebook. And granted, like, I don't have a Facebook account. I know lots of others don't. But as Rosenberg pointed out, there might come a time if Facebook is successful, if Meta is successful, where, as Lewis said, or Rosenberg said, faster than any of us can imagine, and I'm quoting from the article, we will become thoroughly dependent on the virtual layers of information projected all around us. It will feel no more optional than internet access feels optional today. And I think that kind of goes back to that thing like with Myanmar, and other countries where Facebook, for a lot of people in those parts of the world, is the internet. It represents their access to the wider world, and that is already taking place. Yeah. And I just hope it won't get to the point where Facebook/Meta, with its virtual reality and virtual world products, is able to do the same kind of thing and make it so that there's a big portion of the world's population who, for them, this is, again, not optional in the same way that for us, because we do have the luxury of seeing that the internet is much more than Facebook. Not everyone has that luxury. And the other thing I was just going to add on to that was actually to go to your thing about the NIM wars and the real name identity, because I think in the PC Gamer article you mentioned this very, very quick quote. Yeah.
We should
Eric,
try to make this quick.
Oh no,
yeah,
this is a very, very, very quick,
Okay.
just one
You
quote,
sure?
and it's like 2 sentences. Zuckerberg's future promises to let you view your mom's kitchen in 3D. Second Life's present lets you be
Oh,
a
no.
pint-sized furry hosting slam poetry nights in outer space. And I just love that contrast.
It does.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It does
That
kind of-
is an yeah, that
it
is a
does-
good contest.
Yeah, because Facebook thinks like, oh well, we can be anywhere at any time. When the reality is, with people who want virtual worlds, and the whole point of virtual worlds and Metaverse is like to create things that we don't have in our current world.
Exactly.
That's the fucking point of it. But
It's-
Harui, your thoughts?
Yeah, before I get into my thoughts, I want to say like people when they like virtual worlds, the boomer mindset of I can go to Japan, not oh I can visit, you know, a cyberpunk city. Anyway, my thoughts, and this comes from a very niche perspective, is that yes, it will be a coin flip whether Metaverse succeeds or not. But it's also the fact that everything seems to be stacked against it. We just need to know how it will fare. Because most people that use Facebook nowadays are boomers. They are old people that only have Facebook because that is the boomer way. Every single boomer has Facebook. Some more trendy boomers will even have like what's it called? Instagram. But no boomer is gonna look at like an Oculus Rift or Oculus 2 and be like, wow, this is the future. Because they already have Facebook. What else do they need? And I don't see people of our generation going, yo, metaverse is where it's at, because again, everything else gives you more freedom.
Yeah.
If anything,
It brings me back to earlier when I was talking about how when I came home from work. I don't think I even finished that. When I came home when I was coming home from work, walking home from work with talking with Rui, on the phone. Essentially, we were discussing the whole meta name change, and I was telling him that I don't believe that many people give much of a fuck about the metaverse. Same thing with NFTs. And I don't see how Facebook will expect to try and win people over. And even if they could jump the hurdle that is their PR clusterfuck right now, I don't see how they can try and turn things around, are trying to coerce people into thinking, the metaverse, this is interesting, this is cool, when no one seems to even know what the fuck it even is, even those people who
jump
talk
the
about
hurdle,
it.
even
Yeah.
sorry. Even if they jump the hurdle, all like Second Life needs to do or VR Chat needs to do is do a couple of minor updates, like Linden Lab just say, "Hey, we made a better graphics engine. Now Second Life is more has better textures. Boom, Metaverse is dead because you can just go to Second Life who has better textures." VR
You're talking
Chat.
about meta, but I don't think that's the
Sorry.
case actually. But I mean I appreciate the input regardless. But the thing is that with SL, for it to really, because the whole point of a metaverse is to be able to go between platforms, and to do that would require Linden Lab and VR Chat and all sorts of other companies in the virtual world space to adopt common standards. And I'm pretty sure, again, I believe Will Bird's, who I could bring it up, but he is kind of like at the forefront of the whole metaverse concept, at least in the technical sphere. Um, no one at all seems to be focused on trying to make common standards so that you can easily transfer your avatar from one platform to another seamlessly. A prime example, I would like to continue talking about this, and we can probably pick it up in the next episode, but we really should get continuing to the next topic, so because we only have like an hour 15 minutes, probably at most an hour 30, because Eric will have to be
How
leaving
long have we
soon.
been going for?
We've been going for about 50 minutes.
Yes, we have
50.
been. Yes, we have been. We've been on this discussion for 10 minutes more than we should have.
We're giving
Oh,
so much
God.
more airtime to
No, we're
Facebook
doing
than we had
this.
intended.
This started almost an hour ago. Oh shit, we need to speedrun this.
Ah,
Like,
yeah.
like
But
it's. I'm
let's
looking at
keep
the
train-
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Let's keep the train moving. I know
Yeah.
time flies when you're having fun, but
On with
Yeah,
the second
time
railroad.
flies. Yeah, let's go. So
the
about
next subject is
hmm.
on April Linden, the former head of engineering at Linden Lab. On November 5th, 2021, she posted on Twitter, "Hello, residents. Today is my last day at Linden Lab. I'm going to let this account go dormant after today. I'm watching all use the things we build in ways we didn't expect or even know was possible. Has been an amazing joy the last 8 years, and I'm going to miss it. It was a very hard and emotional decision to leave the lab because I love Second Life so much, but after finishing up the cloud migration and taking a few months to rest, I could tell in my heart it was time to take on a new challenge. Thank you very much." I'll just continue the whole thing. "My personal Twitter account is @BunnyHalberd, but I'm not a very exciting person to follow. I live in a small town in rural Washington and mostly just post about the silly things I build in my workshop because I figured they needed to exist. Thank you for making the last 8 years be a wonderful experience. I'm very muchly going to miss being on the inside of this wonderful and crazy world that we all build together." I have no words for how much that broke my heart to see her leave. I mean, I wasn't in tears over, but the thing is that you could tell from how she presented herself amongst the staff, ranging from how she would report on situations going on at the lab regarding the back end, such as during I think one of the last things she did was a blog post about the back in October when Linden Lab announced they were retiring SSL 1.0 and 1.1 from use for connecting to the grid. You could tell that she was capable of making things simple to understand, easy to explain, and breaking it down for people. You could tell that she was very happy to be at Linden Lab. She was very understanding of the user base and their needs. She was very capable in her job. I've seen her work on I've seen her on Twitter post her projects at home, like a weather station and temperature, all sorts of other things like that. And she is a very, very talented woman. I believe she's also disabled too. I remember around the time that Ebby Altberg died, that April posted about him and how one time she had a hard time getting up to the door, the Linden Lab or something, or opening the door, and Ebby just was coming up behind her and just said, "Here, let me get that for you, April." And she noted that he was just a very nice man to work with. He was a very compassionate, caring, supportive man.
Yeah.
And I feel that just like when we lost Ebby when he died earlier this year, that with April gone too, it just feels like we've lost another good Linden. Because if anyone who understands the history of Linden Lab, knows one thing is very clear about the past of Linden Lab is that Second Life has had a very tumultuous history with its creators,
No kidding.
ranging from Michael Kingdon, I think M. Linden back in the day. Who was it? Rob. Fuck, what was his name?
Yeah. Rodvik.
Rodvik Linden. I forgot his
Yeah.
real name.
Yeah.
I'm, but I feel that losing April. Well, we didn't lose her in a way. I'm pretty fairly certain she's going to be around Second Life as a resident for a while longer yet, but it does feel that we've lost one of the good Lindens. And
Losing a member
that's
of
not
your
this.
community. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
It,
Sorry, is I was about to say like
mm.
losing a member of your community always sucks. Be it their untimely departure or they just like quitting.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're it's
You
kind of
know,
like seeing a family member
an old
just
friend
step
go.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah,
thing
yeah.
is that she's not, as far as I'm aware, she's not leaving. But the thing is just it feels different without her at the lab.
Mm.
Just like it felt different after Abby died.
Yeah.
Nikki, as a Second Life newbie, I must ask, how long was April working?
She
8
Because I
has
have
years.
no.
been working at Linden Lab for 8 years, actually.
That is a lot. Like
It,
I am the Second Life newbie, so I have no horse in this race. I do feel for the people that feel for her.
who probably will be missing her at the lab most definitely.
Yeah.
And having
Um,
a smart and talented furry engineer at the helm.
mm-hmm. And I mean, this isn't to say that I don't think whoever will supersede her will be up to the task. I genuinely believe that Linden Lab will find someone or has found someone either within their ranks or amongst the possibly thousands, if not tens of thousands of qualified engineers in the field who are more than capable of filling in at least some degree of April's shoes. Because let's be honest, that bunny has very big feet. If you didn't know, I saw the pictures of her old avatar, the one that was originally in our thumbnail before I updated it just before the stream. That girl has some very big bunny slippers to fill, and I wish whoever takes her place the best of luck.
I really want to ask the question, what's her her shoe goddamn it words. What's her shoe size? But then I was like, should I? Ah, fuck it, let's do it.
That's actually a brilliant question.
Uh,
But any thoughts from you, Eric?
I mean, I think that, like I said, besides the little furry pride that I had in having her at the helm, I mean, she was very communicative, like you said. Like she was very open. I think well, as you mentioned, it's not always been a close relationship between the Lindens and the residents, especially with Mark Kingdon, M. Linden. I checked, by the way, Rodvik, his real name is Rod Humble. Ebby was definitely, these past, I think Ebby was appointed CEO in what, 2014?
Yeah, around the time
So
joined.
I think that definitely, so April, let's say she must have joined like, maybe let's say a year before. And I've talked to other people about this. There was definitely a different kind of corporate climate and culture when Ebby took the reins. And, so I think a lot of them, April included, probably were very happy to be part of the lab under Ebby's reign, with a little bit more openness and everything. I think that, yeah, I don't really know what to say about April other than, as I sent you that shot, I was lucky enough to be on the red carpet with her at a New Year's event in 2018 in
Yeah.
Bay City. Like,
Yeah.
she's an
I actually
amazing
didn't.
individual.
I was also talking with Eric about this earlier. I didn't know that the Prim drop was actually a year-round thing, and I am actually going to make a concerted effort to actually attend because I'd
It's
really
amazing.
like to go visit.
Bay City has quite a few events, and this is one of those that Marianne McCann, the unofficial mayor, I have to add, of Bay City, she probably, she doesn't want to be called the mayor, so she's the unofficial mayor of Bay City. She organizes it, happens every year. I've been to a few, but, and yeah, April happened to be there. But I think that, one of the things that, Rui, you were talking about, like updates for Second Life. I mean, the last major project that I think April really worked on, at least that we're aware of, is of course the uplift to Amazon Web Services, to the cloud servers from the colo
Oh.
facility they had before. So I think that in that way, I can understand maybe that, after doing that big major project, which apparently took a year, and she's working very closely with Oz, who retired earlier this year as well.
Yeah,
And I think that. It might have been that Oz left, and then she figured, well, okay, I'm gonna, because I know they worked very closely together on this AWS project. There's a fantastic photo of the two of them where Oz is standing there in his, wonderfully like regal and I don't know how to describe his avatar, but there's like such a presence that he has, and then April is hanging over his arm like upside down with her little, bunny avatar hanging on Oz's
You
outstretched
should send
arm.
me an image, a picture, a link to that image, because I remember seeing it once, and I was like, "That's adorable."
I think Strawberry might have used that on one of the forum posts where she was talking about the the employees that she did a while back, like meet the Lindens. But I'll look for it and send you. But yeah, I think April. I wish her the best with whatever she does next. Um, and yeah, they're big bunny shoes to fill.
Oh yes, definitely. Let's move on to the next topic. The Gacha ban, 1 month on. To brief anyone who may not be watching this, may not be familiar with the situation, or has been gone from Second Life for a while, or just joined Second Life, or is watching this in the future, listening to this in the future. Second Life or Linden Lab in, I believe it was September 2021. It was like a couple months ago. Issued a ban, or issued a warning that effective actually when it was supposed to go in effect in October 20. Was it supposed to go effect in October, the start of October, and they just were doing preliminary enforcement in September?
I think so. Yeah, I think September was, as far as I
It's
can
been a
remember,
while
like
since I
the
made my
warning
video
period,
on it.
and October was when it enforced. I think they did it like in a couple or maybe three different stages as far as like what
Yeah, they
what the
did.
penalties would be.
Like they had 3 stages, which which essentially, I think it was back in August. They said, like, in the middle of August that, hey, starting September 1st, gachas are effectively banned. We're not going to issue bans or anything like that just yet. We're going to give you time to do what you need to do to get yourself into compliance, to get your products up and properly set up for the new policy. But after October 1st, bans will be going out if you're found operating a gacha machine. A lot of people, quite a few people, were not too happy about the ban. One of which was the Second Life's favorite gadfly, Prokofy Neva, who I actually had the pleasure of getting into quite the argument with on the fucking SF forums, and afterwards I just threw her under the bus on Twitter, and I'll be brutally honest, I blocked her. I have no interest in humoring a gadfly, because all they want is attention. It's a person who wants nothing but attention. But and the thing is that what reassured me, and I'm going to just linger on this. The fact that you said e-girl regarding Prokofy Neva is disturbing.
I don't know. I just know. Look, I am not a Second Life person. I don't know the residents by name. I just live rent-free in your Second Life house. I'm like,
You're a squatter.
what is the only thing that craves attention more than air and food? An e-girl. Therefore, comparison ahoy.
But yeah, off the topic of Prokofy, who, I'll be honest, I don't care for at all. she's a cunt. Everyone thinks she's a cunt, as far as I'm aware. Because I remember getting into an argument with her on the forums, and and when I literally threw her under the bus, it was deleted because Linden Lab was purging posts left and right because it was getting both off topic and hostile in there, which I don't blame them. I don't knock them for deleting it. They're doing their job. I'd rather they do their job than it turn into a toxic shithole.
Mm-hmm.
But half the fucking active people in that thread were just applauding me for telling her off and telling her to get bent over the fact that, oh, Linden Lab is going. I don't know what exactly her fucking argument was. Like, this is the death of Second Life. This is the end of SL because Linden Lab dared have a conscience about Gacha.
I can't wait for her to randomly stumble upon this podcast. Watch as we talk shit about her, and then
I mean,
just
I
go.
have to clarify. I have to clarify for the sake of anyone who's watching that this is just my opinion. Nodoka Hanamura.
It's your opinion.
It does not
I'm
reflect the
just saying.
opinions of any of my co-hosts. So anyone
Yeah, I
who
mean,
has any ideas, just fucking don't.
In
I'm
Prokofi's
just
defense,
saying-
she
I'm
has
just-
been in a cell even longer than I
We've
have.
too far on drama as it is.
Yeah.
I'd rather not the first episode be littered with drama.
I
We
wanted
can
to
say different
make the
ones.
joke that happened.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
On the topic of Prokofi, the situation with Gacha 1 month on, it seems that there's been two outcomes of this. Either Gacha creators have decided, well, they're actually, now you bring that up, there's actually been free. There's been a small subset of content creators in Second Life who, in response to the Gacha ban, have just decided to leave Second Life outright.
Yeah, makes sense.
My personal opinion on the matter is, why would you leave Second Life when you have a bunch of content that you can just repurpose elsewhere? It's like throwing away the baby with the bathwater. Why are you throwing away perfectly good content that you could just resell in another method and just do that? Why?
Some people are not that smart.
Enough money?
Yeah, some people are not that smart and they don't want to go through the trouble of like repurposing stuff. Like, when you get rid of people's moneymaker, they'll either adapt or leave.
Yeah.
And that is what I feel like. Again, I don't play Second Life as much as you do, but I believe that's pretty much like the only outcome that could have come after the ban, regardless of like positive or negative opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So carry on. What are the other two scenarios?
There were people, as far as I'm aware, because I'll be honest, I haven't done a whole lot of shopping lately. I've been kind of focused on my real life workplace and spending time with my friends elsewhere off of SL. But what I have seen in the intervening months since the ban was announced and later went into effect is that the other two things, because let me make some slight comment on the third one we mentioned just a moment ago. It does feel like a knee-jerk reaction, and I don't believe that many people actually went through with it. But
even if they went, they'll come back. They always come back.
You never know. True. But on the second situation, it seems like an overwhelming majority of Gacha creators just kind of accepted that Gacha is not a very positively receptive thing in Second Life, because I mentioned in my video about the Gacha ban that Gacha and loot boxes and the sort have had a negative reputation in Second Life, but have had a negative reputation in the entire. Well, because I know this is gonna hit a nerve with some people who say Second Life isn't a game. But the thing is that in reality, Second Life, Linden Lab, and all that is all part of a greater games industry. So inevitably, yes, I'm going to have to bring that up. The thing is that the games industry as a whole and the customers within it have not taken kindly to loot boxes, to Gacha, to a sizable degree. The
Mm,
only areas where it's seen any relative success is through mobile, and that's mainly because mobile games are usually free. They're played by casual players, and no real majority of people don't really even spend all that much money on it.
yeah.
But the thing is that
uh,
when I go into Second Life and I'm putting money in on products, I would rather spend money just to get the product outright and be
yeah.
able to copy it and modify it as needed,
Yeah.
than have to
Test
pay
your luck.
test my luck and also get an object that I can't make a copy of for myself, or make or modify, and it just doesn't make any sense, and I don't genuinely believe how Second Life got away from it. Like,
Yeah.
I won't mention who said it because it's just going to linger back in the drama, but one person said that it makes it easier for people to like fill up houses with gacha items to decorate them and whatnot. I'm like,
Mm,
there's plenty of very cheap decor on the
yeah.
marketplace.
And also the thing
Not
is,
regard, not the contents of what's on this table, notwithstanding.
mm,
Um, this these chairs, and this coffee table all came out to about 150 Linden dollars. I put this together in a couple minutes yesterday to set up a stage for the show.
mm.
You're telling me that there's no option for cheap furniture on the marketplace that looks good?
It's not just that, but it's also now that I know that you can't edit or modify a product that you get from Gacha, you essentially gambling to get the worst version of a
Oh,
product.
exactly. That's it. That's
Yeah,
exactly it.
it was supposed to get the ban hammer. It got the ban hammer, and now we just have to adapt.
Yeah. And on to the third method, way people have been adapting to it is by Dazaivum, a Japanese, I think Japanese
Japanese, yeah,
Italian,
Japanese Italian of D
yeah,
Lab fame.
yeah, D Lab fame, put together a kind of gotcha technology known as Miepon. Erik actually brought up the etymology of the word. Miepon comes from a merging of two different Japanese words. Mie mean visible, and pon being the onomatopoeia used in gachapon, which is the full phrase for gacha. Um, I will be honest. I do not like gachapon. Or not Miepon. I don't like how the Zyvoom, and nothing against him. I did not initially. I didn't really particularly. When I heard the news he was putting this together, I was honestly not too. I kind of was taken aback by what he was doing, because I just genuinely wanted Gacha just to drop dead off the face of the
Yeah.
grid, because
Uh,
it's done nothing but been a pain in the ass, almost as much as Micrea's exclusivity bullshit with some
mm,
certain content creators, but that's a story for another episode.
yeah.
Um,
Personally, I do like when Eric was explaining me, like I thought like, yeah, this can still be considered like a gotcha, but it has distinctions that um you know make it someone okay in Linden Labs rule sets from what I've
Yeah, because you
glandered
know
at.
what you're going to get. Like you know
Yeah,
what the
yeah, yeah.
next item that you buy is actually going to
But
be.
at
yeah,
the same time, I wish there was like an option to like refund, like, oh, like as a gacha player, as a man that spent way too much time reading gacha stories. I know some gacha games have their reroll banner, and that is like, oh, you want to have 2 5 stars in a row? You want to be that kind of insane? Yeah, sure, roll as you like. If you don't like your roll, you can roll again and get your thing refunded. And that's what I feel like if gacha games adopted that system, it would make it so that yes, you still have a gacha in a technical sense, but it's not breaking the rules, making a much more healthy thing for Second Life's community.
As far as I remember, though, I think that the rule is you have to be able, and I'm not quoting exactly because I don't have it in front of me, but I think that Patch on the forums or the community blog post potentially said that you have to be able to see what it is you are going to get. So I think that would like even if you can refund it, the fact that you're not, because I mean, how
Oh
many
yeah,
times can
yeah.
you refund it? Like, can you keep on
But like
refunding
when you
until you get
see
something you want?
being able to get, do you mean do you get to see the items and the drop rate, or do you get to see
Well, with Miapon, you have the machine. You see exactly like you have above it, a picture of all the different items and they're numbered, and then below
yeah,
it,
yeah,
you
yeah.
have the thing conveyor belt that shows, which item you are actually going to get. So you see in the image above, the texture above, you see what
You
the
know
items are.
exactly
You
what you're
know
going
what
to
you're
get.
going to get, and you can
Okay.
also see if it's like 10 or 11 items that are next on the conveyor belt, so you can see what you're going to get. Now you can see what you might get if you buy the next few items in a row, and so it's that conveyor
Uh,
belt mentality. So you're
so it's
still seeing
not
what you get.
exactly is what you're saying. It's like it's not exact. Like if you buy now, you're gonna get this item.
Well, you buy now, and then the thing that kind of makes it work, I guess, is that the person who initiates a purchase on a Miapon machine then has 10 seconds after that purchase where no one else can click or use that machine. So
Yeah.
let's say I wanted an item that was two or three circles down on the conveyor belt. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I have to buy these first few items to get to it. But as long as I've, started that purchase, then I have the time, no one else can actually get that. So it's not like you can buy it and then someone else can jump in and say, oh, I wanted that item.
Yeah.
Now you bought
Global
it. Great,
cooldown.
Yeah, there's a cooldown. So like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in that sense, you can still get the items you want, assuming you buy enough time. So I don't know how I feel about it. Like Nodoka
Yeah,
said,
it's kind
it's
of weird.
something. But I will say that I have spoken, just to kind of go with what you were saying too, Nodoka, that I have spoken to a couple of artists, or I've heard from a couple of artists in Second Life who say that they they really benefited from Gacha in the sense that they had items that even if they were, and this is, I think probably I've seen this said by more than just those couple I've spoken to, that there are artists who they have had items in their stores, they've had items on Marketplace, and they didn't sell, like they weren't able to actually make a living or part of a living from
Yep.
their Second Life artistry, but the gacha did sell, and so I think it's one of those things where some people are just naturally drawn to again, for better or worse,
And the
that
problem with
idea of
that
the
is
gambling
they're
idea.
probably charging too much for it, because the thing is that um the dilemma of selling a product, be it in Second Life or elsewhere, is that you have to find a happy medium between profit and affordability.
Yes.
You can't
Yes.
just charge out the ass for something like some people do in Second Life and expect people to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to
We all know those people. They
the
try to play
amount
the market. Sorry.
the amount of let me hold on a second.
Like the
The
thing. Oh,
value of the cost of the product has to be commensurate to whatever, commensurate meaning it needs to be in proportion to what the value of it is to the people who be interested in buying it. I mean, for example, I mean, at least for me, uh, a Valve Index may be worth may cost $1,000, but to me, I don't think it's worth that much. I think it's worth at most $600 for the whole shebang shaboodle.
mm.
And the
Yeah, that's
same
the
thing
tricky
goes
thing with
for
economics. Like you have a product and you need to figure out the value between. Oh, let's say you have a bed and that bed usually costs like what, 50 Linden dollars? It's like cheap bed.
yeah.
So you need to one weigh the profit that you're gonna make, and two have people that are actually gonna buy it. Because if you say
Mm,
if nobody finds your price, fair, they can just go to someone else.
exactly.
But with gacha, since it's like a wide assortment of items, people might be like, "Oh, I got this really good drop by complete chance.
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep buying."
Yeah, it's the gamification of
Yeah,
sales,
it's
which
the
for some people worked a
gamification.
lot better than just trying to
Yeah.
sell the item
Yeah,
itself.
and that ties into the biggest problem with gacha of all is that it's manipulative. It
Yeah, it is.
Gacha loot boxes, they're all manipulative, and people act like, oh, it's okay, and oh, there shouldn't be regulation for this kind of thing because they're grown adults, they should be able to make these decisions for themselves. Like, you
That's a
say
stupid
that, and
argument.
yet we have people who have spent 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, even $1 million on gacha games, and I am just sit here left wondering as to this is okay to you?
Okay,
People
I'm
throwing away their life savings, throwing away their livelihoods for a game.
I know this is, we are starting to drift off topic now talking about gachas in general, but I'm just gonna say this.
I mean,
Let
it's
me tell
on
you why.
topic. We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
gachas in
yeah,
SL, so it's going to be
yeah.
expected we're going to veer
But
slightly off.
like the whole thing with like gachas in general is a completely other like discussion because like loot box and gacha are inherently different in my opinion. But that's neither here or there. The point is that line of, oh, they grown adults, they can do whatever with their money. Let me tell you why that's bullshit. FIFA as loot boxes. And I've seen time and time again European articles going, this kid just spent like 400 no 4,000 euros on FIFA loot boxes at the parents' credit card's expense. Now the parents don't know what the fuck to do. So the problem is not the adults. The adults, if they have a gambling addiction, the, everyone will intervene and say, "Please, for the love of God, stop rolling the gacha." And
Mm-hmm.
there's support groups for that.
Yeah.
Kids are unregulated. Kids like will just go, I really want Ronaldo in my team, but I can
And it's
only
not
get him
even
in good
kids, it's
pack.
adults that have this issue too.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, but at least with adults, there is support groups. There are people that are
Their
there to
support group,
help and say,
their support groups, yes, but the thing is that the first step to getting support is to admit that you have a problem, and even then, how are we supposed to stop this from happening when these things are so manipulative? And
yeah, yeah. It's like gacha is a slippery slope.
it
Like
is.
if you are a adult with income, as long as you're not
Oh,
forsaking the
my friend,
month rent.
may I wrap this up with one thing because we need to get
Mm,
on to your
yeah,
discussion
yeah,
before
yeah.
we close out for tonight or for today.
We
Um,
almost reaching 1 hour and a half.
Yeah, we're
yeah,
rapidly running out of time.
yeah, we need to get going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My friend Lola, a Second Life resident, has said to me before that because of Gacha, she's had to take breaks from SL because she would end up starting to have an addiction again because
Yeah,
she'd keep
yeah.
rolling for items and rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah, it
And I've
happens.
used
It's not
gacha
pleasant.
machines. I've used gacha machines before, and I know how that is. Just one more, and I'll get what I want. Just one more, and then you
Yo, the
end up being $50,000 in the hole. Not
literally,
literally, but
yo,
you know what I mean.
literally go. But the pity system is right there. If I just roll one, like 10 more times, the pity system kicks in and I get the item I want. It's like, no, it's not worth it.
Exactly.
It's and again to wrap it up, I say yes, people threw a fucking hissy fit over the gacha in Second Life, but I much rather see a healthy economy in a virtual space than everything be devolved into gacha.
Yeah.
I rather pay for stuff than to gamble with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, the light works. If you're listening, give me my fucking 5-star Kiyohime. I really need it. I will pay. Like, I legit like if the light works says, you know what,
Very,
fuck it.
very
Oh yeah,
heavy.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we need to get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We are
I
running out.
know
We
you
need
want
to
to
go.
talk about fake grand order, but this
Yeah,
is not
yeah,
the
yeah,
show for
yeah, yeah.
that. Though we do need to
That's,
talk to you about something now. Um,
yep.
Yeah,
for the
we're both
final
very curious.
segment of our podcast, I wanted to have like at least 10 to 15, though probably only be like 10 minutes to talk with Rui about his experiences so far in Second Life and how he's finding it to be um being relatively new, only been on SL for I believe only like a couple months.
A couple months, but literally can only count like 5 sessions of Excel that we had, and only 2 had like decent internet because again, the Linden lab doesn't have servers
Servers
in
in
Europe,
Europe.
which is a fucking shame. If they
Yeah.
if they if they are allowed to be recognized as a business in Europe, they should have servers in Europe. But from my
I mean, it's
experiences,
probably more an issue of having bad Portuguese internet.
that too. But I will just
At
say
that point, who can you blame, Linden Lab or your ISP? Because I'm leaning towards your ISP.
it's probably both. I don't know. It can even be like the fucking other 5 family members I'm living with at the moment, which all hog the internet for like Netflix or some shit.
Yeah, that's gonna add up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a myriad of problems for this Portuguese bunny. That's why I turn to alcohol. It eases the pain. Uh,
That's why you got the bottle of vodka in front of you.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
But
Um,
other than internet
but
issues, how have you found things so far?
again, I'm not much of a social person. I rather just play an actual game, quote unquote. But Second Life and VR chart, yeah, VR chat for to a certain extent have been like really relaxing.
Well, that's good to
Like,
hear.
yeah,
Um,
it's just that it's a bit overwhelming for like a first time player because
yeah.
you dropped in the world, and if you know no one, you are you're out there to fend for yourself. And
Mhm.
because again, I'm antisocial, I would literally just walk around aimlessly like a fucking bum.
Mhm.
And I'm actually very grateful that you've showed me around. You actually made an effort for me to enjoy Second Life. Like
Mhm.
there was times where we drove around. There was that one camping trip that didn't go quite as planned, but was still enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
Um, what else?
Was that the one to
Uh,
Hiraya, the drivers of SL?
Yeah.
Oh,
oh yeah, there
we
was
missed that
that
one, unfortunately.
website. Wait, what?
The
Oh,
drivers of SL Camp Crypt, the one you were talking about.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, no,
Um.
I thought you meant the website.
Oh no, 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 no! I was just saying the camping trip. I unfortunately missed that. But what were you
Oh,
saying
okay.
about a website?
Yeah, like there was a website called something like it was an SL tourism website that I found really interesting.
Mainland. Something or other.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was
What was it?
just like
Operation Mainland or something
I
Mainland? Eric, I know
yeah,
it
it
was
was
something relatively
something
popular recently.
mainland.
Oh, Second Highways.
No, no,
Probably
No.
no,
That probably was it, but that was the one you showed us in the stream, stream chat earlier.
no.
Um, it's a recent project. I cannot believe I forgot the name of it, but it was like they have
Forever
these
Tourist.
kiosks. Forever
Yeah,
Tourist, yeah.
Forever Tourist. Fiore Freeman's Operation Mainland
Operation
tourist
Mainland,
kiosks. Yeah.
yes, yeah, that. I think you might be talking about that. Um, Actually, I haven't had a chance to try that. I would love to give it a go sometime.
Mm.
Um, but I wanted to say thank you for at least giving me the chance to show you around SL, Rui.
Yeah, I'm
And
always open to new
helping you
experience.
around. Um,
Yeah.
um, on the topic of how you got into SL and whatnot, and what you have said about how with people who are new to SL, if they don't have friends to help show them the ropes, they're kind of lost. That does seem to be, and I believe Eric can agree with me because he's been here not just longer than I have, but he has experience discussing these topics before, I believe, as well.
Mm.
Um, the onboarding process in Second Life is kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, like it teaches you the basic controls and then throws you off the deep end of the swimming pool and it's like, now swim.
Yeah, it's like here you
I
go.
don't
Here you
care
are,
if
the
you're a
virtual
baby,
world.
swim.
It does, yeah. It seems like they don't teach you about how to manage your inventory, how to
I
wear
know, like
items, how to customize your avatar. It just seems like very basic. Like
e
it doesn't
the
teach you anything.
inventory was like, yo, I don't understand this. And then you had to walk me through it so I could actually get my drip, as the young ones say. God, that actually made me cringe. Ow.
Oh god.
It hurts. Like I say the drip, and then suddenly the spirit of our good friend DB just goes through me, and I'm like, oh no, what's this pain I'm feeling? Oh, I recognize this pain. It is cringe. I'm gonna lose subscriber. But yeah, no, I would say definitely it needs an overhaul. Like the SL tutorial.
Mhm.
But the problem is that it's so much information that it can be overwhelming. So you get the
Mhm.
opposite problem. Like things with like VR chat, it's easy to grasp because it's in the name. It's VR chat. You pick an avatar, you go to a world, you chat with some people or your friends, and you
Mhm.
fuck off to something else. With Second Life, when I look at what you guys have accomplished in Second Life, I feel like, man, this is a fucking commitment sometimes.
Mhm.
It has
Like
been
this
for
is
quite a while.
actual your second life. It's like I'm out here doing like, if VR chat is a dating sim, like a visual novel, uh VR chat's fucking Minecraft. I believe that's the best way I can describe it. Just here's a world full of possibilities. Have fun.
I mean, Second
And
Life is the
that's
same way.
yeah.
Yeah, the
And
problem is you can do so many things in SL, and I
mm,
mean, that's the good thing about SL. The problem is also that you can do so many different things in
yeah,
SL.
free
Exactly. It's
absolute
so
freedom is
vast
a
that it is kind of a conundrum, isn't it? That you have the absolute freedom to do whatever you wish within the confines of the terms of service, of course,
yeah.
but you have the issue of of having the so much. It's the old saying: so much to do, so little time.
Yeah. And like it's like absolute freedom's
Yeah.
the absolute constraint,
Mm.
something like that. Some Evangelion nonsense.
Yeah.
Uh, and again,
Hmm.
probably will change with the coming months. The more time I hang out, I'm still deadly afraid of logging into Second Life when you're not around because I'm like, okay, I'll go walk somewhere. Oh wait, what's that? Is that a security orb? Oh wait, that's private property. I'm gonna go the other way.
Yeah,
And
stay on the
that,
roads
that
in
is an
real
issue that we
time.
deal with even as veteran residents.
Yep,
Mm.
Van lines
exactly.
and
Oh yeah, remember that
Van
one time
lines
where
and
you
food
wanted
roads.
to fly and the security orb was pestering you? Man, that was
Oh
annoying.
yeah, yeah. They do that constant every now and again. It's not as bad as not as bad as it used to be nowadays.
literally giant robot eyeballs in the sky saying this is a no-fly zone, and little Nicky's like, but I want to fly a kite. We said no-fly zone.
Uh,
Ah.
that
But
was
yeah,
a well
that's my
that was a
thoughts as
well-timed
the
sigh
newcomer.
on both of your parts.
yeah. Well, I guess that's where we'll cut things off for this episode. Join us next month. We will have topics set up, possibly announced, possibly down the line, probably around the first of the month. We look forward to seeing whoever is listening in, or if you are listening on Spotify or TuneIn or wherever these podcasts are being hosted at. We've yet to properly decide on where we'll be doing these at. But if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, wherever, thank you so much for listening. You can catch us live on the 18th of every month, around 10 p.m. SLT, 1 p.m. Eastern. This is Nodoka Hanamura, Queen of Bountiful Busts, with her hosts Erik, Mondrian, and Kirisame.
Hey.
Everyone, have a great day.
Bye bye.
See you later. Safe teleports, everyone.